One is called the maximum likelihood estimation, which we have already discussed in the previous class. And today we are going to discuss the Bayesian parameter estimation. Okay, so although these two approaches are more or less same, but people still go with the maximum likelihood estimation. So due to its mathematical practicability and another thing is that it is very simple to derive, and you can easily get the analytical form of this thing. So keeping in mind all sort of advantage of the maximum likelihood estimate, so people used to implement it using this MLE. So now as it is just to understand, so that's why I'll just touch upon the very brief about the Bayesian parameter estimation, or you can say the Bayesian learning. Okay, so for any advanced machine learning course also the Bayesian learning can be implemented, and it is very important in many cases. Okay, and next part, that is called the density estimation. One is called the parameter estimation. Next is called the density estimation. So how do you estimate the density function? Okay, so there are several ways to estimate it. One of the estimate is called, let's say, histogram based method. So in the early days, people used to have the histogram method. Okay, so and another will have to estimate using this Parsons window, or you can say this nearest neighbor estimation techniques. So nearest neighbor estimation techniques, Parsons window method, and the histogram method, all sort of things that we will be discussing in the next class. Okay, as we have already just taken the concept about this maximum likelihood estimate. So now there is a slight distinction between this MLE and the Bayesian estimation, that in the MLE that you view the true parameter. I mean this parameter that you are going to seek, it is to be fixed. I mean theta. So theta, it is to be fixed. But whereas in Bayesian learning, you consider theta, which is to be random variable. So that is the case. Okay, and this training data will allow you, okay, to convert a particular distribution into a posterior probability density. So now the concept is that here is this, we will have to apply, as we are going to estimating the probability by using the theory of Bayes rule, then obviously that will be assuming that, and if it is assumed that this prior probability is given to you, and this density function is, or class conditional density is also given to you, then you can easily estimate this posterior probability density, isn't it? So by if you just simply plug in the formula of the prior probability and the density function, or you can say the class conditional density, then you can easily estimate this posterior probability. But provided that two things is known to you. Okay, I mean this type of knowledge is given to you. But if this type of knowledge is not given to you, then how you are going to, or if this type of knowledge are unknown, then how, or you can say if the two quantities are unknown to you, one is prior probability and another is class conditional density, then how do you are going to estimate this posterior probability density? Okay, so that is the main things that we are going to do. Okay, so before taking it, so as I already told you, you need to do some practice, some practical example or practice example of the MLE method. So now here there is an example that you have to solve it, like uh, one density function is given to you, that is px given theta, and px given theta, that we have made one density function that is a theta e to the power minus theta x, where x is greater than is equal to 0, 0 otherwise. So now how do you estimate this theta? That will be theta hat, or you can set the theta cap. How do you estimate the theta which best describes this density function? So can anyone try it? Okay, what will be this density function? I mean, sorry, means what will be your estimate of your parameter theta hat? So what will be the value of the theta hat? So which best describes the density function, and this density function, or you can say this distribution, that is I mean you can assume it for a particular sample size. So now how do you do it? So can anyone just try it? So suppose that you suppose that the formula that you know, capital D, it contains n samples, Okay, x1 to xn, and all the samples are drawn independently. Then we have a function. So now what you have to do? First step, you have to develop a likelihood function. So what will be your likelihood function? You have to view it as a function of theta. Okay, because as theta is a parameter, now you have to design a function of theta, and this function is called the likelihood function of theta with respect to the set of samples. Okay, now what will be the likelihood function? Anyone? Likelihood function क्या होगा? What will be your likelihood function? Hmm? Anyone can tell me the likelihood function? Any guess? Any guess? So you apply your guess. What will be your likelihood function? It should be probability of capital D given theta. Hmm? Isn't it?
Sir, multiplication of I from k to n theta into e to the power minus theta xi.
Very good. So this will be your likelihood function. What is your name?
Sir, Vishwanath Mandal.
Acha, Vishwanath. Okay. So now this is your likelihood function.
Likelihood.
Okay. Probability of D given theta, as we have to understand that this capital D, so it contains n samples, that is x1 to xn. And these samples are drawn independently because we are assuming that for each class, this set will be different because they are not dependent on these things. I mean, this D1 is not dependent on this C1. Okay, so both are this independent. So that is why all the samples are drawn independently, and then you'll have to apply this L theta. Okay, because as I in the last class we have already told you that doing this likelihood function, or this is an log likelihood function, so you will have this, the result is same as this. We are going to have the log because it is a logarithm, is a monotonically increasing functions, and you will have to it is for the analytical perspective, so we are going to use it. So you need to have the L theta. Now what will be the L theta? That this pi will be the summation. Okay, it should be a ln theta e to the power theta kx. Okay, now you have to just have you have this ln theta minus, if you just expand it, this summation, you have the ln theta minus log of, if you have the log of xy, means log of x plus log of y, you have to have, then you have the n times of theta. Okay, uh, minus, as it is a constant, then k is equal to 1 to n theta xk. So now this is your likelihood function. Now how do you means compute this maximum likelihood estimate of theta? You apply Because this theta, if this, as I already told you, the you have this this p d theta, so it has to be differentiable function of theta. Okay, and if it is differentiable, then you need to have this gradient operator grad. Okay, now L theta is a log likelihood function. Now you need to maximize it. So for this, now you have to compute this grad theta L is equal to 0. Now if you do this grad L theta is equal to 0, then what will be the value of theta? Can anyone do it and tell me the answer? You just do it by yourself and tell me the answer. What will be the value of theta?
The summation of I from 1 to n 1 by xi.
Final result bolo.
Sir, summation of I from 1 to n 1 by xi.
What will be the your theta is equal to
Theta will be
summation
equal
of
I from
1
1 to
by
n 1 by xi.
You do the differentiation with respect to theta and equate to 0. Okay. Then you will have one value of theta. What will be the value of theta? You have the ln theta, means it is n times of, you can take out theta from here. In the second term, you can take out theta before summation, and in the ln theta means you have this n times of ln theta because it is a constant. Okay, n times of ln theta. Then if you do the differentiation with respect to theta, L theta, then 1 by x. So n by theta. Yes or no? Differentiation karo. This is a simple differentiation. Just do it and tell me the answer. What will be the value of theta?
So root n.
Huh?
Root under n.
Root. Why root will come?
So because n by theta minus theta will be equal to 0, and then square
No.
root will come.
Root will not come because you'll have to do the differentiation with rest. So what is, suppose if you have log x, okay, and if you do the differentiation log x with respect to
Sorry,
x,
sir, it will be n. Sorry.
so
Theta will be equal to n.
anyone, what will be the value of theta? Theta hat क्या होगा? Theta hat is equal to estimated parameter. Theta hat is equal to क्या होगा? You just do the differentiation with respect to theta and equate to 0, then you will have the theta hat. This is a very simple example. Vishwanath,
Yes, sir.
वन होगा सर.
1.
So it's coming out to be n.
It is This is very simplified one. Is it okay? Hmm? This theta will be 1 by n, k is equal to 1 by k is equal to 1 to n xk, that is equal to 1 by mu. So this will be your expected or estimated parameter, which is 1 by mu. This is simple things. So any problems, if you have this type of problems in any point of view, you just first draw the likelihood function, then you take the logarithm, then you'll have to do this partial differentiation with respect to theta, that is a grad theta. Okay, then equal to 0, then then whatever theta that you are going to have, that will be theta hat, then you have this kind of thing. Okay, this is very most simplified example for the MLE. Okay, so in order to make you understand, okay, you may also get I mean whenever in lab also, because next lab probably you will have this example on this maximum likelihood estimate and Bayesian estimate that you will have to solve it. Okay, or the estimation of the density function kind of thing. Okay, is that clear now or not? Or if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Please respond. Okay, when I am asking you now. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, exactly how do we get this ln theta from the given density function?
L theta.
Yes, sir.
Hi, this L theta, that how you are going to get. So I already discussed in the previous class, isn't it? If you just see this my previous slides, so where it was there, that this is a function of, it is a likelihood functions. Okay, so likelihood function was there. It is a p of x given d, or px given d comma theta. Sometimes you can write px theta, or you can sometimes you can write px d comma theta. So now the formula for the density function, this is an likelihood function, is k is equal to 1 to n theta e theta x. So if the density function is given, so if it is not given, then this general form that we have already seen, that is a k is equal to 1 to n pxk into theta. So pxk into theta, it is a density function. But in this case, the density function is given to you, or you can see the probability density function. Now, if you have the L theta, now this L theta, it is a likelihood function, and this likelihood function will be this summation of, okay, this is an, because if you do this, if you have the likelihood function, now if you do the log, now log means if you have the product term, then if you take the product term of the log, then you will have the summation term. So that's why it is coming. Nothing else. We are simply using this algebra.
Sir,
Okay.
can you please repeat the last statement that contain the product and summation terms?
This product actually it is that this is a conditional probability. Okay. So now this product term that will be have, because you have you have the each class. Suppose capital D, it is the entire power set. It contains D1, D2, D3 till Dn or DC. D1 it belongs to class 1, D2 class 2, D3 class 3, D4 class 4. Okay, so now we have just designed it in such a way so that here we are not considering the class. So although it is a class conditional density function, but we are assuming that these datas are not independent on this corresponding class. So it can be any data sets. So that is why we are just ignoring the concept of the class. So instead of taking the class, we are taking this entire sample. So that is why P d theta is equal to product. So why I am taking this product? Because this product, it is a combination of the density function for all the classes. So that's why the product term is coming. K is equal to 1 to n theta. I mean, it is this density function is given to you for this each class. If you have the n number of class, for if you take the product, it is p1 into, or you can have px1 theta into px2 theta. Okay, x1 theta, px1 theta into px2 theta into px3 theta. It is a conditional probability, na? Px1 theta, or it is a product term. x1 theta for the class 1, x2 theta class 2, x3 theta class 3, x4 theta class 4, xc theta. You have this that many class. So that's why the product term is coming. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Are you understanding now? So P, actually the formula was P d theta is equal to pi, k is equal to 1 to n, p x k, x subscript k, then theta. So what is k? K is it is a subscript for it is varying from 1 to c. X k theta density function for class 1. X2 theta density function for class 2. X3 theta density function for class 3. Xc theta density function for class C. So now we are just ignoring it and we are considering the capital D. Capital D means it contains all the samples for each class. X1 dot X1 samples X1, X2 till Xn. And these samples are drawn independently. So that is this, that's why the product is coming. Now if you have the product, then if you take the log, it will be summation. Then you simply do the differential calculus. Then you can get the answer. Okay.
Sir,
If you
sir, then hello, sir.
yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, the density functions. Yes, sir. Sir, for the entire set of sample points, sir, the density functions can be different for different classes. Is it like
Yes,
that?
exactly. You may
Okay,
have.
sir.
Okay. You may have.
Okay.
So that is why it is independent. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I think so you can implement it. And if you please follow the book, Dudahat book. You please follow the Dudahat book because it is very good book. Very good derivation is there. So if you, I mean, get stuck in any mathematics, you can ask me. And also in the appendix side, so there is a different types of problem was there. Okay. So now here we are going to have the Bayesian estimation. Now the Bayesian learning to that we have already seen that in Emily theta was supposed to be fixed. Okay, but in Bayesian estimation, that is that theta is a random variable. Okay, theta has to be a random variable, and the training data that will allow you to convert a particular distribution of a random variable, because every random variable will follow a particular distribution. Now it will convert the distribution of a variable into a posterior probability density. Now the posterior probability, exactly the computation of posterior probability PWI given X. So this is called the posterior probability. it actually lies at the heart of the Bayesian classification that we have already seen. Okay, that we have already seen PWIX. So now the PWIX that we have already, you can have. So whenever you see the Bayes classification, what we have done, PWIX is greater than of PWJX. Now PWIX को हम लोग कैसे रिप्लेस किया, PXWI into capital PWI, or if you take the two class, now PXIWI, okay, into PWI greater than is equal to PXWJ greater than PXWJ into PWJ. Okay, now these things that we have already seen. Now what is your goal? Main goal that you have to compute that what is this the probability of posterior probability WI given X and D. And these now D is a sample. Okay, so given the sample D, capital D means you have the samples that is x1, x2, x3 till xn. Now you have to apply the Bayes formula that can be written in this way. Pwi given xd is equal to pxwid. So here only the another term is coming, that is called the d. So why it is coming, that I'll explain. Pwid now is equal to 1 to c pxwj d into pwj d. Okay, so you know in some cases in whenever you are going to apply the Bayes rule or Bayes formula, so two knowledge is already given to you. Okay, I mean it means the Bayes formula will allow you to compute this probability, I mean posterior probability from the prior probability, that is PWI, and the class conditional density, that is PXWI. But but if the quantities are unknown, then how do you how one can best estimate, or one can do a best estimate to compute this PWIX. Okay, so if this information is not given to you, now that what we could get, so that's why capital D means the training data sets, or these data sets will be partially given to you, or it is your prior knowledge, and such type of knowledge is actually the functional form, because from these data sets you can design a functional form for the unknown density, and you can find the range of values for unknown parameters. So whenever you are going to have the parameter theta has to be computed, so that in the Bayesian you are going to apply the Bayesian estimate to compute the theta. And for what, the capital D means set of samples is given to you, and where capital D denote the set of samples, and you'll have to just emphasize that this role of the samples. So that is the main things, and that how we are going to compute, and your goal that by using those samples, how do you compute the posterior probabilities PWIXD. Now these are the formula that you can also use, and you can use this formula. So by or you can use the information, which information, this capital D information only given to you, बाकी आपके पास given नहीं है. Okay, so you can use the information which is provided by the training samples, and it will help you to determine this class conditional density and prior probabilities. So in general, as you are going to estimate as you are going to estimate the parameter using the Bayesian formula, then in general in the Bayesian formula, if prior probabilities and this class conditional density function is given, then only you can compute this posterior probability. But here, how do you compute the posterior probability? From these training data points, because only that type of knowledge is given to you. So from this knowledge, okay, if you somehow represent a functional form of the distribution from this knowledge, which knowledge? From the data points D and the prior probability, then you can easily estimate these things, probability of PWIX into D. Now this is the things that you need to compute it. Okay, so now how you are going to do it? That this type of prior probabilities that you can estimate, or you can obtain in this way, that probability of PWDI. So these things is given. So now to demonstrate the preceding equations, so these equations we use that Px dWy. So that is a density function that you are going to estimate. Okay, Px d from where x comma d means you are going to estimate the density function from the training sample points or the sample point, capital D. Wy is equal to Px dWy into Pdwy. So it is the from definition of the conditional probability. That is known from definition of the conditional probability. And you can have Pxd is equal to Pxd can be defined, that is a summation of Pxwj into d from the law of total probability. And you can assuming that so these things that you are going to estimate, one is the density function, or you can have the density means not density function, I mean class conditional probability density function, that is Px given d. Now from the Px given d you can estimate it P of x wj into d by applying the law of total probability. Now these things is known to you, and another thing is the prior probability. How we are going to have the prior probability? From the training samples. From the training samples the prior probability is given to, that is Pwid. From the Pwid you are going to estimate this Pwi. Okay, now if you have these two information, then you can just replace it. So two things that you are going to have. First thing is that it will allow you to work with each class separately using only the samples in capital Di. Okay, in order to determine the probability of x given Wyd. So it is there, and you have to use in conjunction with that assumptions that these prior probabilities are known. So now if you are assuming that prior probabilities are known, then so you can rewrite this equation number 2 in this way. That is a Pwid will be replaced by this Pwy. And second things is that each class can be treated independently, that I already told you, and you can just use it with this class distinction, and you can simplify your notation. So as you have these C separate problems, because as you are having this capital D1, capital D2 capital DC, as you have these C separate problems in the functional form, then you can use this set capital D is a set which contains a samples which are drawn from independently according to a fixed unknown probability distribution, that is Px. Okay, now you have a set capital D which contains a samples which are drawn independently and according to a unknown probability distribution, that is a Px, to determine Pxd. So this is called this central problem of the Bayesian learning. So this whatever we are going to write here, Px given d. So Px given d is nothing but that you have to determine Px given d, where that you have a set of d samples, set d samples drawn independently according to a fixed unknown probability distribution, that is a Px. Okay, so these things is being used for computing this Pxd. So now training samples points say you can compute this prior probability, and from the set of all the samples, I mean capital D, and which follows a particular distribution, a fixed probability unknown probability distribution, then you can determine this Pxd. Okay, next is, that was the concept. Okay, that is the main fundamental foundation of the Bayesian learning. Okay, now you have to estimate the Bayesian parameter estimation. Now as I already taken this for the maximum likelihood estimation, we have taken what we have considered for the Gaussian case. So here also will be considered the Gaussian case. So why every time we are going to consider the Gaussian case? Huh? Why every time we are going to consider the Gaussian case? क्या होगा? Why? Anyone can tell me the answer? Hmm? because it has got its I mean, you can easily represent, you can easily estimate its parameter mu and sigma efficiently, and it has got a mathematical tractability ability, and you can and this function is differentiable. Okay, so you just just represent it. Okay, and you can just take a differentiable. If you take this, even in the MLE method, if you take the logarithm and if you take the differentiation for at each point, you can find this maximum or minimum. So that is why that in every cases that you are taking the Gaussian case, because it is easy to handle it, and it is a parametric form. It is a very good parametric form. You can easily estimate this mu and sigma. So that is why we are going to use this Gaussian case. So now you have to estimate theta. So main goal is you have to estimate theta using a posterior density, that is a PD into theta. So now here you can use Bayesian estimation techniques to calculate the posterior density. So that is given by P theta given D. Here we are just ignoring. So if you just recall the maximum likelihood estimation, so we are taking this P D theta. So here also we are going to estimate the theta using this posterior density, that is a P D theta, and the desired probability density. Okay, so now is your desired probability density is a px given D. Okay, so for this case where you have that this px given u. Okay, so as is your desired probability density is px theta. So now your theta is either mu or this sigma square or this covariance matrix. Now the px theta or pxd, in this case you can write that px mu, I mean p density function with respect to parameter mu. So px mu, it is nearly equal to capital N. N is a normal distribution, mu comma sigma. That is the main case. Now here we are going to have the univariate case. Now univariate case, you just replace theta with mu. So now you have to compute p of mu given d. So where mu is the only unknown parameter. Okay, if it is an unknown parameter, okay, then for simplicity we treat the first univariate case, that is a px mu, which is nearly equal to mu n mu sigma square, and the only unknown quantity is the mu, and you can assuming that, or you can assume that that any prior knowledge that you have, or the prior knowledge is mu that you have, it can be expressed by a known prior density. So any prior knowledge that you have about mu, which can be expressed by a known prior density, that is P of mu. That is a P of mu. So that is why here it is P of mu is written, and you can have an assumption that P of mu is equal to capital N mu naught into sigma 0 square. So where both mu naught and sigma 0 are known. Why it is known? Because you are assuming that your mu will follow a particular distribution or a particular prior density, that is equal to Pu. So this both mu naught and sigma naught square are known, and this mu naught represent our best prior guess for you. Now what is mu naught and sigma naught? Because both things are both the two things are known to you, mu naught and sigma naught. So now this mu naught represent our best prior guess for mu, and sigma naught or sigma naught square, it is a variance. It measures our uncertainty about the guess. So please remember, this is a very vital point for your Bayesian estimation, mu naught and sigma naught square. Okay, because here you are going to estimate the mu. Now in order to estimate the mu, you are assuming that, so this type of knowledge, this prior knowledge is given to you, and this mu can be expressed as a prior density. So I am representing mu as a prior density, that is a P mu. So P mu is nothing but, if you are assuming that it is a prior density, obviously it follows a distribution. So whenever it follows a distribution, so it will have the mean and variance mu naught and sigma naught square, where mu naught is a base prior guess. So you are going to have the guess of base prior guess for mu, and sigma's 0 square, it measures our uncertainty about this guess. So these two things are known to you, and these assumptions that we are going to make, so of the prior that this prior distribution for mu is normal, so that will be used, and you need to see that this assumption is not so much that this prior distribution for mu is normal, and but it is known to you. Okay, so these are the very two important things that is to be cleared. Okay, I think now if you just compute the base formula, there's probability of mu given d, so it can be written that in this way. Now you have selected this prior density for mu. Okay, and you can imagine that this mu has been drawn from a I mean this mu has been drawn, or mu has been drawn from a probability density or prior density, or by using the probability law, that is pu. And once you can just get the value, now it becomes the true value of mu, and you can easily determine the density function. Now you have n samples x1, x2, as you have this xk. Now if you have x samples x1, x2, xn, which are independently drawn, and you have capital D, that is x1, x2, xn, and then you can simply use the base rule or base formula, that is p u given d, it is equal to p du. Okay, you just simply a likelihood function into pu divided by integration of that is a p of d given u into pu into du. So now that can be represented in the form of a alpha of I is equal to k is equal to 1 to n pxq into pu. Okay, so where alpha is a normalization factor. So this alpha, it is denoted by a actually. So this pxk into u into pu. So actually it is a prior probability. I mean this is a density function, and this is a prior probability. So that things that you are going to use it, or you are going to write it using in this way. So this alpha is a normalization factor that depends on d, but it is independent of u. So please remember this alpha, it is a normalization factor which depends on d. Okay, and but it is independent of u. So now you have these equations which shows the observation of a set of training samples. Okay, and that will affect the is a true values of u. So now you have a prior density, that is pu, to an posterior density. So from the prior density, that you can have a posterior density, that is PUD, because PXKU that you can have, you know that PXKU that you have, it is a n of u sigma square, and PU, it is simply what mu square into sigma square, that you already know. Okay, so now if you just plot it, so if you just plug in in their Gaussian expression and extracting out the factors which is not depending on you. Okay, now alpha it is not depending on you, but it depends on d. Okay, and these things that you are going to get p of u given d, that is simply nothing but a you have pxku. So what will be the formula for pxku? What will be the formula for the pxku for the univariate Gaussian? 1 by root over 2 pi sigma exp of minus half xk minus mu divided by sigma whole square. Similarly, what will be the formula for pu? 1 by root over 2 pi sigma 0, as you are using this, as this is a sigma mu naught and sigma naught, exp of minus half mu minus mu naught divided by sigma 0 whole square. So actually there is some step jump is there. So this derivation, you please look at this equation 29 in page number 93 of the Dudhart book. Okay, so now you follow the Dudhart book and you can have these derivations. You can simply have PUD, PU given D. So here this PXKU, you can replace it with the univariate Gaussian distribution formula. What is it? 1 by root over 2 pi sigma exp, then third bracket minus half xk minus mu sigma whole square. And what will be the formula for the PU? It is also univariate Gaussian, as these things is follow a prior density, and where this u naught mean is mu naught and variance is sigma square, sigma naught square. Then you will have 1 by root over 2 pi sigma naught exp minus half mu minus mu naught divided by sigma naught square. Now you just simplify it. These things will be used as a pi terms if you just remove it. Then if you just take this log, I mean this same way that we have done for these likelihood functions, then you can end up with the equations. This is an exp of minus half n by sigma square by 1 by sigma 2 square, sigma 0 square into mu square minus 2 into 1 by sigma square k is equal to 1 to n xk mu naught by sigma square u. So this is the equation number 29 that you can get it. I'm just skipping it because it is not required. Main things is that how we are going to estimate it. So estimation is important. I mean the steps are important. So it will be automatically coming up. Okay. Now these things P u naught is an exponential of a quadratic term. Then you can simply have P u given D. So it is alpha exp of this term that is being already written over here. Okay. Next, it is again a normal. Now it is called this reproducible.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Can you move back to last slide?
This.
Yes, sir. From the first line, how come that alpha factor thing is coming up? I didn't get that part.
No. Alpha factor is not coming up. So it is just assuming it. So this denominator term here. So we are going to use it.
Okay. So probability of mu given D, we are estimating it to be alpha pi px mu into p mu.
No, actually it is a normalization factor. I mean, so here the denominator term is considered as a normalization factor. Okay. So this normalization factor that we are going to use it alpha, and it depends on D. But it is and it is independent of
denominator factor is basically probability of D, right?
It is a probability of D.
Okay, so if we can say that probability of D would be 1 by alpha.
Yes, you can actually, you can see alpha is equal to 1 by probability of D. You can easily, you can also compute it.
Okay, sir.
Understanding, na?
Yes,
alpha
sir.
is equal to 1 by probability of D. Okay. So in order to simplify the equations, we are just taking it in this way. Okay. And now here it is again a normal, and it is called the reproducing density. So now from this density you are going to again reproducing a density for that is Pu given D, that is n of u mu n comma sigma n square. So now this Pu given D, so it remains as a normal, or so you are assuming that it is a normal distributions as the number of n of sample is increased. Now if your number n of samples is increased, then PUD is said to be a reproducing density. So now if you are going to have very large samples who is tending to infinity, so now this density will be, I mean, closer approximation or very close approximation to normal density of un where n is sufficiently large number. ठीक है, where n is a sufficiently large number, mu n and sigma n square, where the number of samples is increased and PUD is said to be reproducing a density, and PU is said to be a conjugate prior. Okay, and so actually these are the term which is being used in your Dudart book. Okay, and if you write PUD, which is a closer approximations, or you can simply write PUD can be model, or you can simply write PU given D can be model by using a normal distributions with the parameter mu n and sigma n square, where mu n and sigma n square it can be found if you simply equate the coefficients. Okay, in equation number 29 that we already explained, with the corresponding coefficient in the Gaussian, then what you are going to get? You are going to get these equations. If you just equate it with these corresponding coefficients, or if you just equating this coefficient in equation number 29 that we explained with the corresponding coefficient in the generic Gaussian term. Now you know the generic formula of the Gaussian is 1 by root over 2 pi sigma n exp of minus half mu minus mu n by sigma n square. So that is a generic term. Now you have to identify the coefficient in the top equations with that of the generic Gaussian. So this is the Gaussian formula. So this is a single variate, or sorry, univariate Gaussian distribution. So now you have to just equate it. So identify the coefficient and you have to just equate it, the coefficient, and which yields expressions for mu n and this sigma n square. You can have 1 by sigma n square is equal to n by sigma n square plus 1 by, identify the coefficient in the way, you will have 1 by sigma n square is equal to n by sigma square plus 1 by sigma 0 square, and mu n by sigma n square is equal to, identify the coefficient and just equate it. That is n by sigma n square mu n hat, or the estimated, into mu naught into sigma square. Next, you just solving it. Now what is your objective? Your objective is to estimate the parameter. Which parameter? Theta. Now the theta will have, so you have started with this density function P of theta given D. Now theta is a nothing but a n mu and sigma, or mu and sigma square. Now you have to compute, solve this for mu n and sigma square. Then you can end up with these things, that your mu n will be or you can simply have the your mu n hat will be 1 by n summation of I is equal to 1 to n xk. Here we are using this mu n hat. Okay, so now mu n hat is the sample mean. So what is the formula for the sample mean? What is the formula for the sample mean? 1 by n sigma k is equal to 1 to n xk. Now you solve explicitly for un and sigma n square. Okay, and you solve explicitly for mu n and sigma n square, then you will end up with mu n is equal to these expressions, n sigma square divided by n naught sigma naught square plus sigma square into mu naught. Okay, and plus this expression, and your sigma n square is equal to this expression. So now from this equation you see that as n increases, so the variance decreases monotonically. Okay, so the variance decreases monotonically, and so now this information is combined with this empirical information of your posterior density functions. Okay, and this, if mu n represent our best guess for mu, as I already told you, that's mu naught and sigma naught that was using. One was for the computing the best guess for mu, and sigma naught was this measure the uncertainty for doing the guess. Okay, now mu n represent our best guess for mu after observing n samples, and sigma n square measures our uncertainty about the guess. That is the main concept. So now this, if sigma naught, sigma n square decreases monotonically with n approaches to sigma square by n. Okay, so if so there is a normalizing factor is there. This is sigma square by n is there. So now if n is just sufficiently large number, and if it is infinite, if it is approaching to infinity, now this sigma square by n, it will be monotonically decreasing as this n is increasing. Okay, with each observation decreases, that our uncertainty about the value of mu, and as n increases, then probability of mu given d become more and more sharply peaked. Okay, that is the Bayesian learning. So there's a two things. The sigma square by n is decreasing as n is increasing, and if n is increasing, this probability of mu given d will be very sharp peaked. Okay, that is the figure that you can have. The probability of mu given d, or d means x1, x2, xn. Okay, so one is plotted in the 1D, another is plotted in this 2D. Okay, that this is Bayesian learning, that the mean of the normal distribution in 1 and 2 dimensions. So the posterior distribution estimates are labeled by the number of training sample. Okay, so already it is there in this book also, as you can have. And you can have, if this sample mean mu n is approaches to infinity, then what will be the scenario? Okay, and other things is that how if it is in this 2D, then how the samples are going to have. So this is just the concepts that if these things is given to you, so main concept is here. Okay, how we are going to estimate. So I'm just skipping the mathematical one, so you just go through it. Although this is an Bayesian estimation, is not be so popular, but ML is most popular. But still you need to know the Bayesian learning is coming up, so it is very important to you. And there's a last one, that if in a univariate case, if pxd is given to you, now if you just obtain a posterior density for the mean pu comma d, so now you have already computed p theta d. So whenever I'll be using p theta d, it means that you are going to estimate the theta. So the theta means it may be a mu, it may be a sigma. So here we are considering this univariate case. If you are using this multivariate case, then this scenario would have been different. Okay, now p mu d computed in that we have done it, and pxd that remains to be computed. Okay, here only one part that we have computed, that is p mu d. Now there's a pxd, so that is to be used this for formula p of integration of. So are you understanding why I'm using the integration? Can anyone tell me why I am using integration? Or means why the Doodhart book using the integration?
Sir, it's somewhere written that x is taken to be a continuous random variable.
Exactly. It is written in continuous random. Now you understood the concept of the continuous random variable and the discrete random variable. Huh? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And so if it is a continuous random variable, then which density function you will be using?
Probability density function. Sir.
Exactly. And if it is a discrete, probability mass function.
The mass.
Good. What is your name?
Sir, Pragya, sir.
Okay, good. So now these are the things. So basic statistics that needs to be revised. Okay. So now I think so there is a lot of mathematics are there. So you can also see my job is to was giving you this path. Okay, so although there is a fundamental things is there, so you can also go with these things. Okay, and also basic thing, two things that you need to remember. One is that this univariate case, and is the multivariate case. So multivariate case that I am not going to discuss now. Only the univariate case is there. In the multivariate, the more complex things will coming up. And no, also in the multivariate case, you can see the book, Rudart book also. There's a multivariate case is there. But in class, in exam, sorry, in lab practical portion that you have to implement this univariate case, not this multivariate. Okay, so you can just go through it. Okay, and if you understood the concept of the MLE, then you can easily just see the differences of both the things. So now I'm just completing it with these things. These very important things is that PXD computations can be applied to any situations in which the unknown density can be parameterized. So these are the basic assumptions that we can follow. The form Px given theta is assumed to be known, but the value of theta is not known exactly. So please remember, two things is important whenever you are going to apply the Bayesian formula. So two things is given to you. One is prior probability, another is class conditional density function. If the two knowledge is not known to you, then you will have to estimate it to your data. Okay, so somehow if you could manage to write the functional form of your density function, another thing is that you need to find the range of values. Okay, that is the two things that people used to do it. And the form of x3 is assumed to be known, but the value of theta is not known exactly. But our knowledge that theta is assumed to be contained in a known prior density. So obviously that we are assuming here also PW. Okay, now this PW, or you can say the P theta. So this is it is your prior density, and this also prior density also that we are estimated from your training points. And the rest of your knowledge, this theta is contained in a set D. As I already told you, this is a capital D of n random variables x1 x2 that follows in Px. So these are the things, basic means assumption that we need to follow. So if you just understood the three things, then you can easily estimate this theta using this Bayesian estimation that you can apply. Okay, so I'm just so already we have already computed all these things. So anyway, I'm stopping here today. I'm sharing this. I'll be sharing the PPT. So next class on Monday, I'll start with okay. Oh, so you have class. No, sorry. So you have a class. Okay. So you can leave this place. Okay. So somebody you have a class from software engineering. So you can leave this place. So we'll meet on Monday and we'll start a new chapter. Okay. Thank you.